But thank you all for being here. I am Lisbeth Visser, Chair of Citizens for Just Water. This is a citizen action group, was established in 2016 by concerned citizens, like you, but they became an official party to the CPUC proceedings. Kathy Biala, our mayor pro tem, is one of the co-founders of Just Water. Together with Julie Hoffman, who unfortunately could not be here tonight, she has worked tirelessly to protect our water and coastal habitat areas. And we would like to thank the many other volunteers who, over the years, have helped our fight. Kathy will be our first speaker, and she will explain what is a slant well and what does the Kellam Slant Well desal project look like in Marina. Here's Kathy.
Oh, it's taped. Okay. All right, next slide. What? Okay, I'm going to show you a slide of what an ideal slant well desalination plant would look like. And this actually comes from Kellam. It's from 2014. And this is the picture not to scale, but it's showing the slant well, which was a novel way to take ocean water, that it goes way under the ocean bed like this. Here's the ocean. It goes way under like this so that it filters the ocean water through all these layers of sand, okay? And so it's really good for the environment, right? Because you avoid taking in fish or the kind of wildlife that might be in the ocean. So this was a great way to get water from the ocean. So you have this like this, okay? So it's going through the aquifers, the aquatards, and the deeper aquifers. So that's the reason why this was such a great thing, okay? Now, this comes from Kellam directly from 2015. This is from their Environmental Impact Report, EIR, and Citizens for Just Water just amplified one part of the pipe, but this is actually from them. So look at where the ocean is here, and look at where the pipes are in relationship to the ocean now, compared to what the ideal situation was. They had this as screened access. That means the holes where the water is going to be extracted, and you can see that 80% of this is going to be where the water is extracted, and guess where it is? Underneath the land, right? Not under the ocean. So this is a big issue for us, and let me just show you where this plant is going to be. Here is the Marina Dunes Beach. Here is this area right here where you see these yellow, these are the slant well wellheads. They're cement pads. Bruce is going to talk about this later. I'm just going to show you the importance of why this situated in this place in Marina is important. Now this sits on the CMEX property. Back in 2017, a group of citizens, again, we rallied along with three state agencies and the city of Marina, 2 state agencies and the city of Marina, to close the CMEX plant forever, okay? And that's coming in a year and a half. It took 5 years, 6 years actually for it to actually be totally closed. But this is sitting right here on this land where the settlement agreement was an agreement with the Coastal Commission, with the State Lands Commission, and the City of Marina. And what that agreement said is that this property, the CMEX property where the last active sand mining was, will be closed, and it will be restored, and it will be dedicated to conservation and low-impact recreation in perpetuity. That's what Marina fought for. That's what we have been promised. And guess what? On the same property is now another industrial plant. So I just wanted to give you that. You're going to see this map later, and Bruce is going to explain much more about it.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Our next speaker, he's getting ready. This is our own Marina Coast Water District General Manager, Ram Schertzinger, and he will talk about the project's impact on Marina's water supplies. Ram? That's yours. What is it?
I forgot an A. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Rem Schertzinger. I'm the general manager. Here, I'll get off that slide so that we're not upset about the fact that we're taking the water from Marin. But I'm the general manager for Marina Coast Water District. It's my pleasure to be here this evening, and thank you for this opportunity to share kind of our perspective on the MPWSP. So this evening we'll talk a little bit about Marina Coast, what we are, so you get a feel for kind of the magnitude of the impact that this project could have on our water system. The AEM study, so this was done in 2017, kind of bring that back to light so that people understand it and understand how it relates to what Kathy was just talking about. We'll talk about the project source water. That's a kind of a sticking point at this time. And then the dune sand aquifer, the negative impacts, and then the marina ore water supply. So just in general, so this is a map of what the Marina Coast Water District is, our footprint. So we're formed in 1960. We are a county water district. We service 5 separate communities, roughly 38,000 people. We do that through 387 miles of pipe, 8 water wells, 20 lift stations, 8 reservoirs, 6 booster pumps, and 48 staff. So we're definitely lean, and we're delivering a lot of service to a lot of folks. So with that, so this is the AEM study. So in May of 2017, God, I want to get out from behind this thing in the worst way. So in May of 2017, we conducted the first really AEM study, and this is an acoustic electromagnetic resonance study. So it's kind of like an MRI for the ground. And this is an opportunity for us to look down into the earth and take hundreds of thousands of points. Instead of doing boring wells, we can actually look at the ground and map out different layers and different supplies. So that data was correlated with well logs. And the interesting thing here is, and what I want you to see is this yellow right here is the dune sand aquifer. So the dune sand aquifer, so think about the image that Kathy just had up there that had the dune sand aquifer and the 180 aquifer. They actually go into the ocean sand dunes. So they're connected. And you can see that here is the dune sand aquifer is connected to the 180 aquifer and then to the 400 aquifer and then by extension the 400. So any impacts to the dune sand aquifer has a cascade effect into the lower aquifers, which makes sense. So on the side, I just put a reference so you can see the helicopter flying with the AEM array. So this is important because when we talk about the slant well technology, okay, I have to get out from behind this. All right. So the issue here is that the dune sand aquifer is actually flowing into the upper 180. So any impacts in the dune sand aquifer immediately start to cause a problem in the 180-foot aquifer, which then flows down into the lower 180 and then into the pressure 400. So when we talk about so this is also taken from CalAm. If you're running this slant well through these aquifers, you're taking from the primary feeding aquifer and depleting the lower aquifers with the operation. So you can see that the MPWSP threatens not only the most shallow and the most rapid recovery aquifer, but it cascades down into the other aquifers. This is important because the district's wells, 3 of which are located in the 180-400. So if we're taking water out of the dune sand aquifer, in time we'll be taking water out of the 180-400 and placing our Marina Coast's community, our water wells in danger. So this is from our modeling, this is the exhibit that shows the MPWSP in operation. So it shows where the plant is here, and it shows the cone building around that aquifer at 15.5 MGD, which is its conditional operationals. This boundary here, the blue boundary, this is where the model shows the saltwater intrusion front to occur. These 3 yellow dots are our wells 29, 30, and 31. They represent roughly 58% of our maximum delivery. So over half of our maximum delivery could be affected in this operational condition. Now, this boundary in the model is plus or minus half a mile. So it could be over here, but it also could be over here. So we're talking about roughly, give or take, $50 million worth of infrastructure that is ostensibly in danger when this plant goes into standard operation or into consistent operation. That then leads us to the water rights take. Right now, we're how do I lead into this? We're currently working with the State Water Board, and we're in hearings with CalAm regarding water rights that they do not have to extract groundwater from the basin, any basin for that matter. And so you can see that the MPWSP isn't drawing pure seawater. It is pulling a component of the groundwater, and in so doing, it has no water rights and is in violation. So those water rights belong to this community. And so we need to make sure that any project that does move forward, regardless of who has it, doesn't affect the projects that are already on the ground and all the infrastructure that this community has already put in place. So MCWD's future, where are we in terms of the safety of the system? Without MPWSP, this is where we are. Groundwater, so our groundwater sustainability plan is in place. So aquifer storage and recovery and IPR, indirect potable reuse, these things are moving along. Developing a stable water supply through the Urban Water Management Plan and the Water Master Plan. So the district is clearly within its water allocations all the way through 2040. And this is with all the development that's occurring in the Ord community. So the water supplies are there, and both the district and M1 Water are ready to deliver those water supplies. Alternative water supplies. So this is new water to the district and new water to the community. You may have seen that the district is starting up our first recycled water customers, customer Bayonet Black Horse out in Seaside. It's pretty fantastic because it means that we're working with M1 Water and with Peninsula to bring recycled water into the community. And that's a big deal because we have a lot of it still left to go. Brackish water desal, as I said at our the county regional forum, this is a real opportunity for us, not in our community, but definitely to the north, to develop additional regional water supplies. And then Reservation Road and the Fort Ord desal projects. So some of you may know that in 1996, the district pioneered the first desal project in the area. We ran that project until 2003, and that project still is over at our Reservation Road facility. And district staff, we are reviewing that project and developing the engineering necessary to come to the board and decide whether or not we want to restart that plant. We also have project level EIRs and agreements to talk about an additional desal facility at the old Fort Ord wastewater treatment plant. Not a big one. We're not talking about the scale that we're talking about here with MPWSP, but definitely if the community needs it and if the Ord community continues to grow in this way, diversified small desal projects work. We know that Sand City is doing a good job with theirs. We know that even Monterey Bay Aquarium has a desal plant. So it's not the technology, it's the where, the when, and the size. So then surface water rights. There's still water inside the Salinas River water rights permit package that has yet to be utilized. And so as Lake Nacimiento and Lake San Antonio get back to normal operations, those water rights could be utilized in more aggressive and efficient ways. So we see that as an opportunity for both Marina Coast and for M1 Water and the CSIP project. So with that, thank you, everybody. It's been my pleasure.
Okay. Thank you, Rem. So our next speaker, another general manager of a water company, will be Paul Sciutto, the general manager of Monterey One Water. And Paul will tell you more about the bright outlook for the future that the Pure Water Monterey project and its expansion offer us. So here you are.
Yeah, I was getting nervous. I was going to have to do Dave's slides. Thank you, and it's great to be here. As Elizabeth mentioned, my name is Paul Sciutto. I'm the general manager of Monterey One Water. We along with the Water Management District, Marina Coast, and a number of other partners, put the Pure Water Monterey project forward. Am I doing this or are you doing this? Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to give a brief overview of Pure Water Monterey as another water source in the community that has been operational for coming up on 3 years now. For those of you that are unfamiliar with it, it is what's called an indirect potable reuse project. We're treating wastewaters, a number of them we'll talk about in a second, to such a high quality level that we're able to drink it. Now, the state of California does not have regulations that allow us to put it right into the pipes which come to our house. It does go into the seaside groundwater basin, stays there for a number of months until CalAm does extract it and put it into the community. So that's just the overview. You have a picture there of some of our ozone treatment. So the source water is what's unique about the project. It's not just municipal wastewater. We've gone out and we looked for other water sources because we have the technology to treat. So we identified and worked with Monterey County Water Resources Agency and the city of Salinas to bring in agricultural wash water. When you go get your bagged lettuce that's been pre-washed, produces about 4 million gallons a day. Also agricultural drainage water as they irrigate the fields. It hits the tile drains, goes into irrigation ditches. We bring it to our treatment plant. And then lastly, a fraction of stormwater. In terms of the treatment technology, I don't know if many of you have a little bottle here, and I'm taking a gamble because I haven't looked at this yet. But frequently, okay, I don't need my reading glasses. Purified by reverse osmosis. That's one of the 4 treatment trains that we have at our treatment plant. All water goes through our regular primary and secondary wastewater treatment plant, and then goes through ozone, microfiltration, reverse osmosis, and ultraviolet light and advanced oxidation before being put into the ground for a couple months and then pumped back out. This is a unique project, like I said, because of the sources. It was the first one in Northern California, but it's the 7th one in California. So this is by no means bleeding edge. This is a proven technology. It's been proven in California, around the world, and so on. Let me advance one more. So what have we done? Along with the Water Management District, we have a water purchase agreement with CalAm. So since June of 2020, plus or minus, the plant started up in February of 2020, but we had to put some water in the ground just to make sure it worked out okay. We have been selling or producing water for CalAm to the tune of about 3,500 acre feet per year. I know it's sort of a strange unit, acre feet. It ends up being about, each acre foot is about 326,000 gallons. It's about enough for 4 to 5 homes for a year, 1 acre foot. In addition, last year, this is fiscal year 21, so July 1, 21 through June 30th, 22, we put 3,500 in the ground for CalAm's use and an additional 173 in the ground as an operational reserve. The reason for that, in years where we can do it, we want to build up a reserve just in case something happens, whether it be a treatment train goes down, a severe drought, whatever it could be, to have some operational flexibility. This is where partnering comes into play, is the Water Management District is actually paying for the treatment of that water, and it's in the ground, so effectively it's their asset, but it protects us as a community. Can we switch one more? So beyond just Pure Water Monterey, that first phase that's been operating since 2020, what are we doing? Well, as you know, and I think others have alluded to it, reverse osmosis is pretty expensive. It's energy intensive. So we are coordinating with our partners Regen Monterey, the landfill that's right next to us, to create a microgrid using landfill gas renewable energy and digester gas renewable energy, which we're both using right now. We're trying to be more efficient and be entirely off the electric grid and be self-sufficient. In addition to the positive environmental effects, the cost, which would be much better for all of our customers, there's also a reliability issue. We've had issues with PG&E being that we're out at the end of a line where we'll go down frequently. And in 2017, we were out of power for 5 days. a wastewater treatment plant and a landfill, a municipal landfill, being out of power for 5 days is untenable. So we're trying to take that control into our own hands and have more reliability as well. The first phase of this, oh, sorry. No, all good. First phase is that little blue line, and it's being constructed as we speak, which landfill gas renewable energy will power the advanced water purification plant, the one that's sitting out there, in its entirety, hopefully in about a year, a little less than a year, probably August, September next year. Long term is that microgrid concept of being able to produce enough power for everything. Thanks. One item I'm certainly Kathy and Elizabeth have been mentioning is, what else? Are we expanding? Yeah, we're going to try to expand here. It is possible to expand. Even today with Pure Water Monterey, we have water going out the outfall that has not been recycled. It's only been used once. So we have a design that's complete. We're waiting on a water purchase agreement to be approved by the California Public Utility Commission. Once that occurs and our boards sign it, we will then go out to bid for this project, which expands the existing Pure Water plant from 3,500 acre feet per year to 5,750 acre feet per year. So somewhere in the range of 55% of the overall potable water demand for the peninsula. Stumbling blocks. Well, we actually came to terms on a water purchase agreement last September, and we've been in the CPUC process for a year. Hopefully that culminates on November 3rd. We'll see what happens, but we got our fingers crossed. And it's going to be about 2 years from the time that we get a contractor on board to first drop of water. So this isn't an overnight thing. As you all have probably experienced with supply chain issues, we're experiencing the same thing on construction. So we're looking at, plus or minus early 2025 for this water to be available. The plus side is it's possible, it's reasonable. I think you may have read some things in the newspapers of, oh, we're concerned about source waters and so on. We're having a number of workshops with our board and certainly community members to further dive into that, to try to show the public, show both the Salinas Valley and the peninsula that there's enough source waters for agricultural irrigation for recycled water as well as for Pure Water Monterey. I think that's all I had. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's talk about grant funding real quick because this is sort of a win, I think. On the original Pure Water project, which was about $125 million plus or minus, we, and I'm going to say primarily it was Marina Coast and Monterey One Water, we landed about $37 million of grants. So that is money from the federal government and the state government coming into this community that wasn't going on our respective bills. Now on expansion, which the current estimate for expansion is in the range of $60 to $70 million, between the Water Management District and us, we have already landed about $15 million in state and federal grants, and we are pursuing additional state grants. We don't know about them yet, so we don't want to, count them before they're hatched. I guess grants really don't hatch, but we're hopeful that maybe another 15 or so would come into our coffers to help offset the cost of the project for the community. With that, I think I'm about it done. Is that true? Okay, and I must apologize. As many of you have kids, I'm sure, I'm going to run off to my daughter's fall concert, which starts in 15 minutes. However, any questions on Pure Water, Mike McCullough with Monterey One Water will be here and he can answer, or Rem can make some stuff up, either way. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Paul. Well, we have one more general manager for you. The last one sitting here. This is David Stolt. Dave is the general manager of Monterey Peninsula Water Management District. And he will answer the question whether the peninsula even needs the CalAm project. Yes or no?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Just Water, for inviting me. I will use this myself, if I may. Our jurisdictional boundaries are identical to the CalAm main system, so we are kind of a proxy for those ratepayers. And we also are a resource manager that has several charges. One is water supply. We are the wholesaler of Pure Water Monterey water, which, by the way, we got short shrift. 20 million of the federal money we had our hands in as well. Paul and I and a couple of our board members spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. about 5 years ago, laying the groundwork for that. But water supply, we do wholesale. We developed the Peralta well, which is the single largest water well. It was our hydrogeologist who said, we think there's more water at a deeper level in the Seaside groundwater basin, and we proved it out, and then we turned it over to CalAm to own and operate. We did a reclamation project in the Pebble Beach area to serve 7 golf courses and the Stevenson School back in, started construction in '92, preceding the Castroville Seawater Intrusion Recycled Water Project by about 4 years. And we developed the Aquifer Storage and Recovery Project. So we were very excited to become a partner with Monterey One Water. They used to have a name called the Monterey Regional Water Pollution Control Agency, which was longer than our name, but they shortened it to Monterey One Water, and we're still stuck with ours. But we're very happy to have that partnership, and we raised additional money so that it could be a significant financial contribution pre-construction, which has worked out well for the community. We also cover conservation, just as REM's organization has conservation activities. We provide rebates, equipment, programmatic things to conserve water, because conserved water is your cheapest new water. If you don't have to build it and you save it, that's the most cost effective. We also do water permits. We're one of the only places in the country that in order to get a building permit, you also have to get a water permit. Helps us count water and keep track of water usage, and it's proven to be very effective in knowing really where the water is going and who's using it. And then environmental stewardship. Over the years, in fact, in the late 80s and early 90s, 4 environmental groups actually filed complaints with the state over overdrafting of the river. And it was the district's environmental program, mitigation program, that was put into place because we recognized the degradation to fish habitat and stream beds. And we put that into place while CalAm was the pumper, and then we maintained that program to date. So we're actually mitigating as a public agency for a private company's activities. So the reason we are involved in this and speaking to you today is the fundamental question of, is this desal plant needed? You know, Paul just told you, in fact, he could have been even more specific. We have an operating project. It's proven, it works. The technology's there. We've been delivering water for 2.5 years, and it can be expanded. And so the question is, if it can be expanded, do you really need a desal plant? And there's a lot of divergent views on that. We just believe our view is correct. So the way you do water supply planning is 3 easy questions. It's how much do we use today? How much will we need in the future? And how quickly do we get there? What's the rate? And when the desal plant was approved, there were 2 fundamental differences between then and now. That was September of 2018. Difference number 1 was pure water expansion really hadn't been proven out as an alternative, a viable alternative. It was kind of simultaneous at that time. And the second was they answered the question of how much will we need in the future by kind of spitballing, but they never answered the question of how quickly will we get there? What's that rate? And so the concept was, oh, we're going to need all this water and we need it tomorrow. Let's build a big plant. Well, how much do we use today? You can see this is 21 years worth of data. And over the last 6 to 7 years, we've kind of stabilized down in, south on the Monterey Peninsula. At that average for 5 years is 97.25. Just this past year, we used, so we live in water years. They end September 30th and start October 1st, so that all of your rainy season is in 1 year. And we just finished at just under 9,600. So we've got 8 years of pretty stable data now. That's where we're at. That's what we use. So back to the future, that ranks as the lowest usage since 1958. It's 54% of the peak usage back in 1987. And it's 28%, almost 30%, since the cease and desist order on withdrawals from the Carmel River was issued in 2009. So we are a different place than where we thought we were going 20 years ago. So what do we do today to forecast how soon are we going to get there and how much do we need? Well, what we've done, what we've decided is the best people to do this work are the prognosticators at the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments, or AMBAG. They developed a model that's jobs driven. It was a new model in 2014. They tested it against 3 other models that the State Department of Finance and others use. They've got a demographic consultant out there. And we said, let's get out of the business of projecting population growth and projecting commercial growth, and let's just translate a third-party objective forecast into water usage. So the growth is not our number. It's not CalAM's number. It's AMBAG's number. And it's undergone very vigorous testing. So they used it in 2014, 2018, and most recently in 2022. So they do 3 things, AMBAG does. They do a Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which is a long-term 25-year, 30-year forecast. They do a regional growth forecast where they project the job growth, the population growth, and housing growth. And then they do a regional housing needs allocation, or RHNA, the big scary numbers that people talk about right now of how much housing has to get built. And they make assurances that all 3 kind of speak to each other and are consistent with each other. So we've been using what's called the regional growth forecast. And what it showed us is population growth in their forecast for 2020 through 2045. It's about 10.5% total growth. And we look at residential data that we have, and we said, well, that's about 18 acre-feet per year. We looked at job growth. It's about 10% over the period. And we look at the non-residential water usage data, and that's about 13.44 acre-feet per year. By the way, Paul missed an opportunity. It's football season. An acre-foot is a football field with a foot of water on it. So what we're seeing is about 31.44 acre-feet per year as the water needed to meet the growth projections of the AMBAG forecast. On the supply side, you see 2 columns, today and with Pure Water Monterey expansion. So there's a variety of different sources available. There is still Carmel River water. They're not completely off the river and don't have to. It's a legal right. There's Seaside Basin. You see in the future, there's a drop of about 700 acre-feet. That's to let the basin recover a little bit. It's called in lieu recharge. So by not taking water out, it's in effect recharging. 700 acre-feet for 25 years. And then aquifer storage and recovery on average. When it rains, you get more. When it doesn't rain, you get less. But it acts as a reservoir behind the dam so that if you fill it up, you fill the basin up over time, over hydrologic cycles, about 1,300 acre-feet is consistently available from that groundwater. And there's a little desalination plant that was alluded to in Sand City, and so forth. So today, about 9,900 acre-feet of available supply, with expansion, about 11,468. So I guess that's not about, that's exactly what that adds up to. So when you map the 2 together, you've got that 31.44 acre-feet per year of green dashed line, that's your demand. And you've got the Pure Water Monterey expansion supply, and you notice in the 25th year, that 700 acre-feet of in lieu recharge comes back into the system. You're no longer replenishing the Seaside Basin, so you get a little bump in that 26th year. And you can see in all years, with the AMBAG growth forecast, we will have more than enough supply with the expansion of Pure Water Monterey. And we tested this with 25% more demand, with 50% more demand, and twice the demand. And it's very hard to move the point where the green and the blue cross to tomorrow or to 5 years from now. It's at least 20 years away, and in this case, obviously 30 years away. And that unused excess is available to put into the ground. So you will have folks say, well, we need peaking capacity for when Car Week comes to the peninsula and everyone showers at the same time and so forth. It's cheaper to build one $3 million redundant well to get water out of the ground than it is to build a $300 to $400 million desal plant to manage peaks. It also manages drought resiliency, and it manages protective water levels in the groundwater, et cetera. So that unused excess, while you're waiting for demand to match supply, becomes very valuable. So we were asked to just kind of discuss our relationship with CalAm. It's not really our relationship, it's the ratepayers on the Monterey Peninsula's relationship. Problem areas are high rates. Ratepayers don't like to pay for nothing, and there's some trust issues in the numbers. So the high rates have led to Measure J, which is a buyout proposal that's currently involved in, it'll go on for several years and several court cases, no doubt. The cost of desal is very concerning because if you add what's called a revenue requirement of $45 million on top of an existing requirement of $89 million, that's a 50% increase. Paying for nothing, there's the view that the San Clemente Dam, which was taken out, is still being rate-based. There have been failed projects. The Coastal Water Project, a desal plant up at Moss Landing, the Regional Desal Project, which kind of failed under its own weight in 2011, and so forth. And then there's this return water subsidy. In order to make this desal plant work, fresh water needs to be returned to the Salinas Valley to meet the requirements of what's called the Agency Act. And that component of fresh water that's returned will be sold to parties at basically the cost of the avoided cost of pumping it out of the ground. So a couple $100 an acre foot, but it's going to cost $6,000 per acre foot to produce. The ratepayers on the Monterey Peninsula will be paying for that subsidy. Trust in numbers, as I said, if you overstate demand numbers and undersell the supply numbers, those two lines cross much more quickly and you have created a crisis that must be solved with a new water supply. And the question is desal too big or is it needed at all? So this is a little complex, but this is a graphic from testimony from California American Water. And I just want to point out some things that are why there's trust in numbers or mistrust. So this is comparing residential demand and non-residential demand. It's about 48% to 52%. That's nonsensical because residential demand in the CalAm system is 2/3, about 66%, year in and year out. So the starting point was a little off, struck us as odd. Then you've got water use per capita per day. So this is what an individual uses. And they say when a new plant comes online, people will use more water. Yet if your water costs 50% more, and by the way, if you turn on your shower, water comes out now. So if you want to take a longer shower or use more water, you can do that today at the 50% discount of what the price is. Then you have these things. Earlier I mentioned population, right? People use water. Empty lots don't use water. Empty homes don't use water. But what the company has done is assigned legal lots of record as a water use. RHNA demands, Regional Housing Needs Allocation, so houses demand. But up there, get my pointer working, I can't get the pointer working. But up there, the very first line is population. There's a population forecast in here. So people are already in this forecast. The people who will live in the homes that are built on the lots. So we've not just double counted, we've triple counted. And then there's some other things similarly. So we've lost a trust in numbers. Oh, don't worry about it at this point. Thanks, Kathy. But those two together, which is residential demand and non-residential demand, actually looks surprisingly close to our forecast, just a few hundred acre feet off. But all these other things that have been added in bring it up to 14,590 acre feet. So again, if you overstate demand and undersell supply, so here they've discounted Pure Water Monterey expansion and actually even lower numbers in some pieces of testimony. We're entering a contract to deliver 2,250 acre feet per year. If we don't deliver it, there are financial penalties. If I get sued, I turn to the guys who told me the source water was going to be there. Paul left, but he knows. Mike's here. He'll hear it. But we turn to those guys and say, you told me the water was there. And so our obligation to deliver is contractual. We wouldn't willingly go into a 30-year agreement knowing we would be in breach every year for 30 years. So it's a nonsensical assumption to say you're going to get less out of the expansion than what you've contracted to do. They've also said the dam behind, or the reservoir behind the dam, the aquifer storage and recovery reservoir, doesn't work, that you won't get that. And all the hydrogeology says, yes, you will. So they've discounted ASR to 470 and so on. And then they said, take 10% off because not all wells and not all systems will be working at one time. So when you do that, you discount the supply down to about 9,000 acre feet. Overstate demand, understate supply, they cross over, there's a crisis. Well, now you need 5,478 acre feet. Desal plant 6,200. I guess we need desal. So, why do we care? Why do we even want to get these numbers right? Well, in 2017, the last time the estimate was done on the desal plant, it was 298 million. Actually 298.2. When you update it for the construction cost index for 2018 through 2022, that number becomes 426 million. Pure Water Monterey expansion, 59 million. Mike's going to go out and get us 18 million of grants. So it's really going to be a $40 million project. But the difference is, this is a $300+ million issue. It's a ratepayer issue, it's a shareholder issue at CalAm, and it's an economic pocketbook issue. And I guess we'll do that at the end. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Thank you. So our next two speakers are our own mayor, Bruce Delgado, and Mayor Pro Tem Kathy Biala. And they're going to tell you why this CalAm project is a classic case of environmental injustice. Bruce and Kathy.
Good evening. Well, we're sure lucky, fortunate to have Paul Sciutto and Dave Stolt and Rem here. I think you can have confidence in our public agencies when you have intelligent people who know their business and are responsible for making sure that we have reliable water supplies, which is the lifeblood of our existence here. Can't go very long without water. And the California Coastal Commission in 2019 staff report, the staff of the commission recommended denial of this desal project we're talking about tonight. And they had a large piece of that 102-page report dedicated to environmental justice, why it was environmentally unjust to build this desal plant. And this is a play that's been being played out for hundreds of years in our country. What happened to the Native Americans, what happened to African peoples that were brought here and enslaved, what happened at 3 Mile Island in a poor community, what's going on in Oakland right now. They're trying to get out of underneath the thumb of Chevron and other oil companies. The industrial facilities usually end up in poor neighborhoods, and they are to benefit larger areas that have more affluent peoples, but there's an unfair, inequitable distribution of pollution and harm that happens to the smaller communities, the communities of color, and those of normally lower economic strata. So this policy you see on the screen is on page 2 of the California Coastal Commission's Environmental Justice Policy, which is a result of a change in the law. The Coastal Act was passed in 1972 that drives the Coastal Commission's authority. And it was recently that was amended so that environmental justice was now a legal requirement that it be considered. So they developed a policy, their environmental justice policy. And so we're very fortunate for that because they relied a lot on environmental injustice, their policy for environmental justice, to deny this project.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an update of what's happening at the Coastal Commission, and I want to stress that a recommendation for denial does not mean the project is denied. I think people heard that and they thought the project was denied. Remember, it's not the staff that votes. On November 17th, it will be the 12 Coastal Commission commissioners that make that final vote. So what happened, many of you were participating. We packed the house in November 14th and 2019, and that was at Half Moon Bay. We packed this venue, we packed a Half Moon Bay, and it was really a tremendous statement to the commissioners. So then the final vote was supposed to happen September 17th, 2020, and we all know what happened. The night before, CalAm withdrew their application. So all of our hard work of posting these things in the windows of our businesses and our houses, all of the people writing scripts and wanting to speak on Zoom, it was during the COVID early part, so it was completely a Zoom meeting. We had done all of that, and it was all delayed now. So we've been waiting for 2 years. That's why you haven't heard very much. And now, recently, CalAm resubmitted that application, and on September 1st, 2022, it was accepted as a complete application. So we had 2 months now to rally all of you again, to inform our residents, and here we are. We have 21 days left, and so we'll be talking to you about how you can participate in the future.
There's a saying that many of you have heard called justice delayed is justice denied. So if you have the capacity, a lot of money, and a lot of staff, you can wear small communities down because they don't have as much money as you do. And if you can delay it enough years, then you have a better chance of winning in the end. So it's a marathon from the perspective of big companies like CalAm. These terms, disadvantaged communities, marginalized, underserved, they're all synonymous, and they usually are designated terms to explain communities that are largely of color. Marina is 64% people of color. These are usually low-income communities. They're usually the ones that get disproportionately burdened by industrial projects. That's not new to you. But something that's not so intuitive is that these small communities that don't have the ability to fight off the placement of industrial facilities in their community because they're not as big or financially endowed as more affluent communities, they can't fight them off to begin with. And then day by day, they live with the pollution of air and odors and in some cases contaminated water. And because they're small and not of large economic means, they're not able to fix the problems. They're not able to clean up the groundwater. They don't have the ability to react to harm and accidents and spills when they happen. And 3 Mile Island is the textbook example of that. So over time, hundreds of years, this pattern of environmental injustice on communities like ours in Marina, it's not going to turn around unless different things happen. And so you need large agencies that have the capacity of money and staff to go head to head with large corporations in order to protect the small communities that can't go head to head with large corporations. The California Coastal Commission is an agency that has a lot of capacity to digest and make decisions on permits when companies come to them for permits. But without authority given to them by the state legislature and the governor, they can't implement environmental justice. So you have to have a big organization that has a lot of money, and they have to have the legal authority to do something about it. They need tools that have teeth so that they can implement those tools and get something done to protect communities like ours. Lastly, that all doesn't matter unless they're willing to use those tools. So it's just words on paper, it's authority and legal justification on paper that if it goes unused, it doesn't help us out. And the Coastal Commission showed us in 2019 when they denied the project, largely based on environmental, but also based on cost, and also based on having the alternative of recycled, cheaper, environmentally much friendlier water that we've heard about tonight. They denied the project. But if you don't have the agency, the authority, or the will, then we're not going to turn this pattern around.
Okay, this is a video that was done by Citizens for Just Water for that hearing that got canceled. And so we're previewing it with you. It hasn't been shown in public, and we will have it in November 17th. But I want to stress that this is from regular people who didn't have, it may seem a little bit more like a professional, but it wasn't. Believe me, we struggled to get this thing, put together. So I want you to see it. It's very compelling.
Residents showed up with our signs and our voices on November 14th, 2019 at the California Coastal Commission hearing. We Marina residents showed up with our signs and our voices on November 14th, 2019 at the California Coastal Commission hearing.
Madam Chair, before I begin, may I ask for a show of hands of those opposing the desal project?
Our city is not a rich city, by all means. As you've seen, the people that spoke there before you from Marina at the City Council chambers, we are a diverse city. And I would really ask you to really think and listen to your staff, what they have to say about the reports.
On behalf of my school, I would like to say, please don't take our water. Please don't destroy our beach. We collected 76 signatures from students at recess.
Tôi thấy bài viết Marina này đẹp quá và muốn hỏi là tại sao? I find that the Marina Beach is very beautiful. I want to ask why this project cannot be constructed somewhere else. Why not keep the existing beautiful beach for our children and our grandchildren to enjoy and appreciate its natural beauty?
It's important for me. It's not only important for me, it's important for the two children that I have. So I drove back because I submitted a note that I will be speaking with this paper, and I didn't want to show a sign that I don't care about it. I wanted to come back, drove 4 hours because it's important.
Environmental injustice is evident when a for-profit private corporation illegally extracts massive amounts of groundwater from a neighboring, highly diverse, disadvantaged community that will receive no desalinated water from a project and is already burdened by more than its fair share of regional projects. CalAM's project will permanently damage sensitive habitats of 3 endangered and threatened species present on Marina's coastline: the Monterey spineflower, Smith's blue butterfly, and the western snowy plover. Construction during plover breeding season is inevitable with 7 cement well pads, ongoing maintenance of infrastructure, and moving the pipes further inland due to an unplanned sea level rise, all causing permanent habitat damage. A typical well site layout from CalAM shows a cement pad is 3 times bigger than an average home in Marina. Special liners must be installed inside the outfall pipe that traverses across the beach to the ocean. This will require excavation of the pipe, blocking access to the beach by fences with heavy equipment and trucks on the beach. The Coastal Commission says no to the environmental injustice. Your staff report said approving yet another industrial development at Marina would perpetuate a discriminatory land use practice. Marina has spent over $3.5 million of our limited public funds to stop Cal-Am. The CPUC final EIR identified 6 other project alternatives at other locations using different methodologies. The CPUC blatantly refused to consider the most feasible recycled water project that could fulfill the peninsula needs and avoid all harms to Marina. And let's not forget that the newest priority of the state water boards is to promote and support recycled water projects. Cal-Am's desalination project is not a public nor a regional project. Just Water seeks to highlight the environmental injustice of an illegal water grab from a disadvantaged neighbor. Cal-Am will force the highest rates of water in the nation upon its own ratepayers, a move that Public Water Now's successful Measure J seeks to remedy through a public buyout of Cal-Am. Desalinated water is the most expensive form of potable water. Public regional desalination projects are possible in which all share the benefits, risks, and harms. Please do not set in motion a monopoly for desalinated water in which a free public resource is extracted for profit at the expense of the public. For the future generations of our region, save our water and save our coast.
That's pretty moving, right? So this was done 2 years ago, and it says we spent $3.5 million. Guys, it's over $8 million of our taxpayers' money that is going in to fight this Cal-Am desal project that, as Mr. Stoltz said, they don't even need or want. So let's go to the next one. Okay, so the environmental justice chapter policies for the Coastal Commission was important because we were the first major project to be evaluated under this Coastal Commission environmental justice policy. And they even devoted an entire chapter in the staff report to environmental justice. And they decided that we are a substantial issues finding, and they actually then denied the project based partly on environmental justice. So we have become the poster child, the classic example of environmental justice.
So these are some of the components that the California Coastal Commission environmental justice policy uses and used in Marina's case to establish our status as a community of concern. So it's not news to you that our beach access is very important to us, and that is one of the primary drivers of the Coastal Commission's existence, is to protect public access to the beach. The project that we're talking about tonight, the desal project, does the opposite of that. The demographics that we have as a marginalized community of color is something that the EJ policy takes seriously at the Coastal Commission, that we have a regional burden. We are burdened by the regional's industrial needs for sewage treatment, et cetera. Those harmful effects that we bear is something that they consider when they consider yet another industrial site proposed for our city. The fact that the benefits go elsewhere and all the harm stays here is something that they talk a great deal about in their report. The fact that there's project alternatives, we've heard much about that tonight. And then there's a quantitative piece that the Coastal Commission considers, which is the California branch of the Environmental Protection Agency. So the California EPA has a Cal Enviro Screen, a scoring program that identifies communities suffering from pollutants. And in that quantitative way, it helps agencies like the Coastal Commission designate or understand that communities like ours have been designated as those disadvantaged communities. And then qualitatively, back about 3 years ago, the Coastal Commission sent their staff down to talk to seaside residents and marina residents of lower economic neighborhoods. And their report from those findings was put into the overall staff report. And some of the conclusions were such like, if we let the desal happen, these people who live near the coast and seaside will have to pay so much more for water. They may not be able to continue to live in seaside. If they have to move away from seaside, away from the coast, they will have no longer the same access to the beach because they won't be living near the coast. So that's how much the Coastal Commission cares about beach access.
Okay, so we're going to cover those issues on the map that Bruce just covered. This is on our demographics. We're 64% people of color. We have a very high percentage over the state percentages of mixed race, and that's because of our military history in which the military stationed American GIs who married foreign brides with the Japanese war brides from the World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. And we are a disadvantaged community of color. And just for brevity's sake, let's look at this poverty level. In California, the poverty level is 11.5. In Marina, it's 12.8. So we do qualify.
And one economic stat is that the average income of Marina people is 8% lower than that of the average person in Monterey County. It's pretty hard to be 8% different than the rest of the county when we share so much in common. So it is an outstanding stat. We're running short on time, so I'm going to pick up my pace. Just want to mention, just to make sure you know, we have the regional landfill that serves everyone around us, not just us. We have the regional 30-acre outdoor composting facility. And when you have 30 acres of composting foodstuffs, it has its effects. We have the last remaining sand mining plant on any U.S. shore. We have the regional sewage treatment plant. We have the Army that left contaminated water that's being cleaned up under Marina. So we already have our share of regional burdens.
Okay. This is a really nice quote from the Coastal Commission on their Chapter N. It says, the proposed CalAm project also results in adverse coastal resource effects within the community of Marina that is already disproportionately burdened by many other industrial uses and would receive none of the benefits. There is a long history of government institutions allowing unwanted industrial development to be concentrated in underserved communities of color without their consent. Approving yet another would perpetuate this discriminatory land use practice in Marina. I think they get us.
So very quickly, the water would be extracted from here. It would be piped, and these would have to be constructed, tearing up our roads to get over to near the landfill. Here is the landfill. Here is the sewage treatment and pure water Monterey recycling plant. Here is the 30 acres of composting windrows. And here is the desalination plant, which is currently dirt, but it's proposed to be built there to take that incoming water. After it's desalinated, it would come down Del Monte Boulevard, tearing up our streets, going through our city, onto Monterey with every drop, not one drop being left in Marina to drink. Each one of these 6 proposed pads is equivalent to a single-story, 6,000-foot home. There are 6 of those that require access roads, and from those are emanating these slant wells that are would be taking the groundwater out of Marina. So it's not just that you add these up and you get 6,000 square feet times 6 or 5 or whatever that is, but you can see this tens of acres of area are going to need to be keeping us out of our coastline because they don't want people running around in their infrastructural industrial site. So they're going to gobble up this much of our coastline so that they can support these 6 well pads and the infrastructure that they're in turn supporting.
Okay, so let's briefly talk about water rights. I just want you to know that when you take water from the ocean at this time, you don't have to have water rights. If you take from groundwater, you absolutely have to have groundwater rights. And CalAm has no current groundwater rights, period. They claim they can get future water rights, but I have severe doubts that they can do that. So we have just covered before that they are now taking groundwater, not ocean water, and you saw the extraction holes on the pipes that they are going to be under our land in Marina.
So environmental justice we normally think of as which people are going to be harmed, and it can go beyond that. And the Coastal Commission, besides beach access, probably their number 2 driving force of existence is environmentally sensitive habitat areas, ESHA. Monterey, you can kayak in Monterey, you can get out with your kayak, you can run up to Sly McFly's, you can have French fries and a burger. You can't do that in Marina. Our beaches are different. Our beaches are pristine. Our beaches are vast. Our beaches are natural. And they have a lot of endangered, threatened, special status plant and animal species. About 14 of them are listed in the California Coastal Commission report, things like the California black legless lizard, the western snowy plover, the coast wallflower, the dune sanguilia, and others, adding up to 14. So the Coastal Commission staff report reported 2 years ago, quote, neither the Coastal Act of the California Coastal Commission nor the local coastal program of the city of Marina allows the disturbance and loss of ESHA that would result from the CalAm project. Staff therefore recommends, the California Coastal Commission staff, that the proposed project be found inconsistent with the Coastal Act and the LCP, Local Coastal Program, ESHA policies. And then they went on to ultimately recommend denial of the project. So very quickly on beach access, the Coastal Act says development shall not interfere with the public's right of access to the sea. The CMEX settlement agreement to shut down the mine says that it requires, as part of any sale, a deed restriction be put in place to protect the property and limit the potential uses of the property to conservation, public access, low-impact passive recreation, and public education, which will improve public access and habitat on the site in the future. What CalAm said in a letter to the Coastal Commission a month ago in September 2022 is that CalAm has proposed a public access plan that would provide access to the beach and the dunes at the CMEX site, where in the city of Marina there currently are none. What they don't say is that the land that they're going to try to build on, an industrial site, is already slated by required reclamation law to be restored without CalAm, and the only thing holding it up from restoring it is that they don't want to restore a place that CalAm is proposing to put in these 6 wells and their roads and their infrastructure. So of course you're not going to restore something if someone's going to come in tomorrow and build an industrial site. But if they didn't come in tomorrow and build an industrial site, the whole 100 acres that have been disturbed since 1906 by the mining would be restored. And what they also don't tell you is that we don't need them to give us a public access plan or public access. We need them to step aside so someone like the Monterey Peninsula Regional Park Districts, who wants to buy that land, that's their business, is to provide public access. It's not CalAm, the savior, that's going to give us public access and restore dunes. That will happen as soon as we're clear of CalAm.
Okay, so engagement with the Marina community. Let me tell you in the past what has been done. 0. They have not come to Marina to talk to our community like we're talking to you today, except when they had to apply for the California I'm sorry, the CDP, which is a permit, a coastal development permit. That was the only time that they came. They went to the peninsula, however. They flew in their entire board to be at a hall in Monterey. They had their CEO stand in front of the Pacific Grove Library to entertain questions from people on the street. They have not come to Marina, except in the last 2 months. I don't know if some of you have been seeing all these community meetings that are being planned, often not in Marina. We had 2 in Marina, but they have not been very well advertised. They have not been well attended, except for one, which was basically over 100 people of all of you guys and people from the peninsula protesting, not to be there to get educated by the CalAm, because there's nothing that we could say or do would impact anything about this project at this point. They are being asked and required to do community outreach. So that's why they're having all these meetings. And I will tell you that had at any other point in time they had come to Marina residents, this is what they would expect.
So just to go over benefits, CalAm is hoping for a thumbs up on their desal plant November 17th. It's supposed to be the benefit of the users, the ratepayers. But the peninsula ratepayers, represented by Public Water Now and represented by a ballot vote to buy out CalAm, they don't believe that they need this water. And since they already pay the highest cost of any water in the nation, they do not want to pay more for their water than they already pay. They don't need the water. We've seen that tonight. They don't want the water. The groundwater under our city will be threatened. The ESHA that we've talked about tonight will be harmed. And we get zero benefit. So who benefits? It's the people that get those profits, those shareholders who are the masters of CalAm. That's where the benefit lies.
Okay. Just recently, 2 weeks ago, the California Coastal Commission approved a slant well desalination project, and it's called the Doheny Project in Dana Point. And it's actually fortuitous that it came up in this way, because we now have a great example of what a slant well desalination project should look like, and we can compare it to what we're being offered or proposed in Marina. So let me go over it really quickly. The one that was approved was a true slant well. They were pulling ocean water. We know that we've talked about this. This one is pulling groundwater. And this is, of course, connected to water rights, because these guys pulling ocean water, they don't need water rights. But groundwater, we certainly do. That Doheny project was a public agency building this thing for their ratepayers, their constituents. Here we have ownership for a private for-profit corporation that is coming into a neighboring public district, right? And here we have the community served is the people that are building it. And in this case, that presumably it's benefiting all of the peninsula cities, and with none of the water going to the city of Marina. There is no ESHA impacts on the Doheny project. The Coastal Commission has chapters, lots and lots of pages devoted to ESHA, right? There's none, because it's on a campground, a disturbed area already that doesn't have ESHA on it. But ours, tremendous ESHA impacts. We have 14 threatened and endangered species on our shoreline where this project is being targeted. So there's huge difference, and so we are making the most of those comparisons. We'll skip the next slide now. Okay. Oh, as I'm doing it. Okay. So these are the gears that will turn in our favor. Remember, environmental justice happens to real people, us. We mobilize our citizen groups just like you all are here, and we've done a lot of outreach recently. So these gears are turning. The strength of our public agencies to collaborate with each other and with our citizen groups. And the three gentlemen here represented the public agencies that we are working together and supporting one another. So The last gear is the application of the environmental justice policies, and that we will see what is really happening on November 17th. That's what we're hoping for, is that those EJ policies will be enforced by the Coastal Commission. And when citizens like you show up, we have a chance to win.
So this really concludes Kathy and my presentation. The slide speaks for itself, and I know that I do love our water and our wildlife and our beautiful beaches. We're very fortunate that we have what we have. And Kathy has done an amazing job pulling us all together tonight, and she's been working really hard. And Elizabeth, alongside of her, has been working really hard for Citizens for Just Water. And these gentlemen here running these agencies that you heard from tonight, you can tell how much they know and how much they care by the fact that they're here tonight and the quality of their presentations. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you, Kathy and Bruce, for explaining why this will be a classic case of environmental injustice for our city of Marina. Thank you. I now will give you a short presentation. Thank you, Matt. About Just Water's activities, and then I will explain what you can do to help. As Kathy already said, KLM has offered several community meetings in our area, and more than 10, I think. All these meetings had almost no visitors, except a few board members of our local water districts and members of Public Water Now and Just Water, who attended just to monitor those meetings. Only the last 2 meetings were held in Marina. On the screen, you can see photos of KLM's final attempt to reach out to our community this last Monday at the Spring Hill Suites. The photos are representative of all those other meetings, an almost empty room with more KLM reps than visitors. Just to explain the 4 people there, that's us. As Kathy already showed you, the only exception was the community forum at the CSUMB on August 9. Almost all of the more than 100 people who showed up were Public Water Now and especially Citizens for Just Water supporters who came there to protest the project. KLM uses those photos on their website to give the impression that residents are interested in hearing more about this exciting project and that all other community meetings were well attended. And they, of course, don't show the large photo in the center that shows our supporters chanting with protest signs outside of the Student Union building here at CSUMB. Over the years, Just Water has reached out to many groups and countless individual residents. We organized 9 forums, like the one tonight. This is our 10th one, yeah? And beach walks to show the proposed location of the slant wells at the CEMEX site. In November 2019, 2 buses with Marina residents left the Walmart parking lot at 6 a.m. Anybody who knows me knows why I remember this. I am not a morning person. But we were there to drive to Half Moon Bay to give public comments at the Coastal Commission meeting. If you think that you are not brave enough to speak in front of commissioners and cameras, look at this little Marina resident who needed a chair to reach the microphone. And yes, now, 3 years later, she is planning to speak again on November 17. Yes, that's for Violet. The Coastal Commission allowed speakers to give their comments at Marina City Hall. Those comments, live streamed into the meeting in Half Moon Bay, made a big impression on everyone in that room. 1 year later, in 2020, we needed to activate residents for the hearing, which was scheduled for September 17, 2020. The Coastal Commissioners were going to vote to approve or deny KLM's project. Because of COVID, we no longer could have large gatherings like we are doing now. So instead, we printed many posters with our snowy plover mascot, and we asked residents to pose with the photo and to post the posters in their windows. And many people sent us the photos of themselves with that poster, which we used to make collages. Many businesses in Marina also displayed the snowy plover poster, to inform their customers about that important September 17 hearing. The collages were meant to be shown to the commissioners during our supporters' comments. But, like you all know, the afternoon or even the night before that hearing, KLM withdrew their application, the meeting got cancelled, and none of what we did, all the work we did, none of that was shown to the commissioners. 2 years, we were waiting and waiting for KLM to make the next move. All we could do is now and then send an email to our supporters just to inform you that we were still waiting. Until just recently, KLM resubmitted their application and we suddenly needed to get back into action. We changed the dates on our posters. We dusted off our signs and we went back to the farmers market here in Marina. Every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. we are there with our booth, rain or shine or wind. And we again offer to take photos of people with that snowy plover sign and the handheld signs. It can be group photos like this one, or individuals. It is nice that we now have lots of photos of people without masks. And we can use those for the new collages that we're going to make to show the commissioners. We are asking for your help. We need all of you. As you can read in the flyers that we have handed out earlier tonight, the most effective way to help is by showing up to give public comments in person, either at the main venue in Salinas or at Marina City Hall, where cameras will be set up and where volunteers will be available to help you. This evening, we have asked you to fill out a form to indicate whether you are planning to speak or to stand at the podium as an individual or in a group. All speakers need to register on the Coastal Commission website. Please contact us if you would like us to take care of the registration for you, or help you with a script, or submit a photo collage to be shown during your comments. We will take care of registration for the residents who will speak in Marina City Hall, because they will need to be registered for that specific location. You will need to show up on the day of the hearing, Thursday, November 17, in Salinas or at Marina City Hall. It can be hard to find parking in Salinas, so please try to carpool and allow plenty of time to park several blocks away. We unfortunately cannot predict when you will be called to speak. Usually, groups speak in the second half of the morning, and individuals, including those at Marina City Hall, speak in the afternoon. If you can't participate in person, you can still give public comments because registered speakers can participate by Zoom. Just like for in-person speakers, we will be happy to help you with registration. And when your registration has been completed, you will receive a confirmation email from the Coastal Commission with the Zoom link. The sender will be CAAA. Please remember that. It is very important that you save this email message because you will need your Zoom link on the day of the meeting. We can also provide a script or submit a photo collage to be shown while you speak. The photo collage will be displayed on the big screen, and you will also be on camera while you speak. And on the day of the hearing, you need to log into the Zoom meeting with that link that you saved in your email. When asked, raise your Zoom hand, and when it is your time to speak, you will be asked to unmute your microphone and to turn on your camera. After you have read your script, the Coastal Commission staff will disable your microphone and camera, and you're done. Again, we cannot predict when you will be asked to speak. We expect groups to be called in the late morning and individuals in the afternoon. We can try to post updates during the day on Facebook and Nextdoor, and we can even try to contact individual speakers when we hear your name being called, so that you hopefully will not miss your chance to speak. And please note that only registered speakers will receive the Zoom link. Others can watch the meeting online. Registration won't open until the agenda has been posted, probably 2 weeks before the hearing. But there's one thing that all of us already can do at this moment, and that is to submit an email to let the Coastal Commission know that you oppose KLM's projects. We have given you a flyer with detailed instructions, and they can also be found on our website. Just like 2 years ago, we ask you to include a photo in your text, not as an attachment, preferably a photo of people, you with maybe neighbors or some friends, but any photo will help to draw attention. The commissioners will receive hundreds of emails. I took the time to scroll through the more than 600 pages that have been submitted 2 years ago. And I think that I'm not the only one who will not read all those texts. But every time when I saw a picture in those pages, I slowed down and I read what that resident wrote. So it's really powerful. Please do this. The deadline to submit emails is Thursday, November 10 at 5 p.m. That is only 2 weeks, minus a few hours from today. So please do not delay. Submit an email within the next few days. Do it while you're still thinking about it. It doesn't need to be long. Just let the commissioners know that we do not want this desal project here in Marina. To recap, what you can do to help. First of all, send that email and ask your neighbors to do this as well. And second, let us know if you wish to speak in person in Salinas or Marina City Hall, or on Zoom, in a group or as an individual. Remember, if you think that this is too scary to speak in public, just think of little Violet. It's only 1 minute. If she can do it, each one of us can do this. I'm closing with the Snowy Plover poster, designed by Marina resident Julie Hoffman, who has donated many hours of her time as graphic designer. Citizens for Just Water has no budget. That's why we changed the dates on our posters. And we often use our own paper and ink. In case you'd like to help us recoup some of our expenses, there is a donation jar. I think it's out in the hallway. So So the meeting starts at 9, or the hearing starts, no, the meeting, the whole Coastal Commission meeting starts at 9. And usually there's public comments for items not on the agenda. So that usually takes an hour. Not this time, will they skip all that? Okay. Oh, thank you, George. So they will start the hearing right at 9. See, I'm learning. Yes. But there's no public comments for other things. Okay, that helps because it will be. We can expect this to be a very long meeting, like the one at Half Moon Bay. We were there till after dinner. Don't want to scare you, but they were nice to us then. The 2 buses we had, they allowed 1 bus to leave earlier, so anybody who couldn't wait that much longer. People already left Marina 6 a.m. and some people did need to be back home sometime in the afternoon. So they allowed those people to speak first, and they loaded up the 1 bus. So they can accommodate us, if it's possible. They can try. So sorry, we don't know. Yeah. So yeah, but you have another question? Unfortunately, we tried, I didn't even tell Kathy yet, we tried to get a minibus or so because we have a driver who's allowed, who can drive up to 15 people. We were not able to find a bus for that. So what we ask you is to carpool. And like I said, parking is an issue as well. Or you can attend in Marina City Hall. Yes, definitely. And I think that might be even I know that will be very powerful to have people packing Marina Hall, City Hall, because when it's being filmed, our own Marina City staff will be there to handle the cameras, and they can zoom out when people are speaking or after they've spoken. They can zoom out and show, hopefully, a packed room. So yeah, please, if you can, be there, especially in the afternoon where we can expect the individual speakers to be called up. And of course, now that I say this, they might be called in the morning. Yes.
This morning, an instructor from the Marina High School called me. I had given a class on environmental justice back in February. 59 of their high school students want to speak at the November 17th.
So that will be 1 hour for us. So this concludes. Oh, did anybody else have any more short questions? Ray? Yeah. We were trying to keep this short, but I don't know. I know it's. Maybe Bruce, can you talk for like 30 seconds?
So brine discharge from the expansion project that we support is 0.5 million gallons per day. It's a lot, but 250,000 gallons or 500 gallons per day, 0.5 million gallons per day. The Cal-Am desal plant at 6.4 million gallons per day for the project is 7.6 million gallons per day of brine discharge. So 7.6 million gallons per day, Cal-Am desal, 0.5 million gallons per day brine discharge with the recycled water.
Yeah, Mike McCullough with Monterey One Water. So the brine discharge, we would have to build a brine mixing structure so that the brine from the desal plant would have to be commingled with the wastewater that comes out from the Monterey One Water plant. And we would have to line our outfall. So we have 2 miles of outfall pipe to get to the beach. And then we have 2 miles out into the ocean. So that 4-mile outfall pipeline would have to be lined so that brine is very corrosive to concrete, and so we'd have to make sure that that infrastructure would be well maintained.
We talked about it's called the Portuguese Ledge out in the bay. It's a protected area that's right out, right next to where this desal plant would go. It's about 5 miles out. It's a marine protected area. It's called the Portuguese Ledge. And this is where this brine would be going. Just a couple steps about a mile away from it.
Yeah, so for brine or any of the water that goes out our outfall, we're regulated from the Regional Water Quality Board. And so we have to sample the water that goes out. And they also have to have dilution factors as to how that water is being diluted into the ocean. So all that is going to be ongoing as if this project continues.
Thank you very much. So yes, let's for any other questions. The speakers might be able to stay a little bit longer, although we're already a little bit late. But so can we please close it? We will close this now. And if you can please come up to any of us, Citizens for Just Water volunteers or the speakers, and ask your questions there or send them by email. Our email is justwater93933@gmail.com. We also have our website, citizensforjustwater.org. And you can find us at the farmers market every Sunday, 10 to 2. And we still offer to take photos at the farmers market. And even if you would like to, we did bring a poster. We will be happy to take photos of anyone who would like take a photo of you with the poster that you can use for your email. And just in closure, it has been said that a small group of citizens can change the world. At this moment, we are not asking you to change the entire world, but we do ask for your help for our small city of Marina. Please contact us if you can give public comments on Thursday, November 17. And please, 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 each one of you, send that email. Submit an email to the Coastal Commission to try to save our water and our beach. Thank you all very much for being here. Thank you.